The Browns aren't the ones making headlines right now, but make no mistake, this latest NFL blockbuster is having a direct impact in Cleveland. And whether you realize it or not, the ripple effects of this unexpected, high-voltage trade are already setting the stage for pivotal decisions that could redefine the Browns' future in 2025. So let's break it down, because the consequences are real and already knocking on Berea's door. But first, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can stay informed. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have made a move that feels more like a Madden franchise mode fantasy than an actual NFL trade. They traded Minkah Fitzpatrick and a draft pick for tight end Jonnu Smith and, wait for it, cornerback Jalen Ramsey. And if you're trying to figure that out, you're not alone, because this move signals desperation, urgency, and perhaps a front office trying to squeeze one final run out of a rapidly aging core. The Steelers, who've now become the AFC North's version of an all-star retirement home, are preparing to line up Aaron Rodgers under center and pair him with Jalen Ramsey on defense. Add in Jonnu Smith and the fact that TJ Watt is still in contract limbo, and what you've got isn't a super team, you've got a powder keg. And for the Browns, Bengals, and Ravens, it's hard not to look at this and feel a mix of curiosity, amusement, and frankly, opportunity. This is a Steelers team marching into the 2025 season with what can only be described as a Hail Mary roster. A carousel of quarterbacks has defined Pittsburgh in recent years: Ben Roethlisberger, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, and now Rodgers, 5 different Week 1 starters in 5 years. That's not stability. That's not continuity. That's panic in slow motion. And Browns fans, this could finally be the year that sees Pittsburgh stumble to that long-overdue sub-.500 finish. Mike Tomlin might be staring down the first losing season of his coaching career. But let's bring this back home, because as much as this is about the Steelers loading up on name recognition, it's also about what happens next. Jonnu Smith's arrival in Pittsburgh leaves a glaring vacancy at tight end for the Miami Dolphins. And that's where things start to get very real for Cleveland. David Njoku. Yes, his name is now being tossed into the ring of possibilities. The Dolphins could be looking to plug that gap quickly, and they might just pick up the phone to call Berea. And if you're Andrew Berry, logical, methodical, calculating, do you listen? Maybe you do. Because while Njoku is a fan favorite, he's also 28, with a history of injuries, entering the final year of his contract. And the Browns just spent a third-round pick on a tight end in the 2024 draft. We're not talking about shopping him. We're not talking about blowing up the core. We're talking about Andrew Berry doing what Andrew Berry does, taking a call. Running the numbers. Playing Moneyball. Remember, this is the same front office that didn't let emotion dictate the Nick Chubb decision. This is the same team that evaluates every player with a cost-benefit lens. And if the Dolphins, who have a win-now mindset, get desperate, if they offer a third-round pick, maybe even higher, doesn't Berry at least owe it to the organization to hear them out? Let's be clear, there's no Myles Garrett comparison here. No one's answering phones about the face of the franchise. But Njoku? Berry might not initiate the conversation, but he's not hanging up either. And this is where it gets even more layered. Because if you're a Browns fan, you love Njoku not just for the athleticism, not just for the big plays, but because he gets Cleveland. He embraces the grit. He's bought in. He's the kind of guy you want in your locker room when you're trying to build something bigger than just wins and losses. But here's the tough truth. If this team isn't set at quarterback, and right now, with names like Dillon Gabriel, Shadur Sanders, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco in the mix, it doesn't look like they are, then holding onto Njoku just for sentiment might not be the right move. If there's no long-term answer under center, does it make sense to ride out Njoku's contract only to lose him for nothing? Or do you capitalize on his value now, especially if a team like Miami is willing to overpay out of urgency? And let's not forget, Njoku has ties to Miami. He went to college there. He might even be open to a return to South Beach. That could grease the wheels for something to actually happen if Miami wants to push for it. But here's where it gets strategic. If Berry is going to make that move, the price has to be right, and not just fair market value. Because any draft pick the Browns get wouldn't impact the 2025 season. So the ask has to go above and beyond. If Njoku's worth a fourth-rounder on paper, you ask for a third. Period. You compensate for the fact that losing Njoku now doesn't help this season, it only helps down the road. You tax the Dolphins on urgency. You make them pay for the privilege. Now that's where we're going to pause, for now. Because in the second half, we're going to dig even deeper into how this trade scenario could reshape Cleveland's offensive identity, what Njoku's departure would mean in practical terms for Kevin Stefanski's playbook, and why the front office is in a uniquely powerful position right now. Before we get there, I want to hear from you. Would you take the call from Miami? Should the Browns consider trading David Njoku if the offer is right? Drop your take in the comments. And if you're still with us, it's because you know this isn't just about one player. This is about something bigger. This is about where the Cleveland Browns go from here, and whether this front office has the courage to pivot at exactly the right moment. Because if the team decides to move David Njoku, it doesn't just affect the tight end room. It forces a recalibration of the offensive identity Kevin Stefanski has built his scheme around. Njoku isn't just a pass catcher. He's not just a red zone threat. He's been the glue guy, the bridge between an inconsistent quarterback situation and a playbook that often needs safety valves. When the play breaks down, Njoku is that emergency outlet. So if he's gone, that burden shifts. The Browns would need more from the new rookie tight end, maybe too much, too soon. They'd need Donovan Peoples-Jones to step into a larger role and Cedric Tillman to develop fast. And the pressure would ramp up instantly on whoever lines up under center come week 1. This isn't just an asset shift. It's a culture shift. Now let's talk about the quarterback picture for a moment, because it's inextricably tied to whether or not you trade a guy like Njoku. If you believe, really believe, that one of these quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Kenny Pickett, even Joe Flacco, is the guy for the next 5 years, then sure, you hang on to Njoku. You give that young QB every chance to succeed, and you keep veterans around who know the offense and can provide leadership on the field and in the huddle. But the reality is, the Browns' QB room feels like a placeholder situation. And that makes it harder to justify passing up value, especially when you're not competing for a Super Bowl this season. If you're not all in, you better be strategic. And that's why this trade talk matters. There's another wrinkle here that can't be ignored. Miami isn't going to wait forever. They're trying to make a playoff push. Their window with Tua is now. And if they decide that Njoku is their guy, they'll probably make that move before training camp gets fully underway. That's how these front offices operate. Quiet, then fast. So Cleveland needs to be ready. They need to know what they want in return, and they need to be aligned across the front office. If the right deal is there, don't hesitate. But if it's just a safe, middle-of-the-road offer, pass. Njoku still has value in Cleveland, both on and off the field. The fans know it. The players know it. And the locker room definitely knows it. But that's the catch-22 of a team in transition. You don't get to play it safe. You don't get to hold on to every piece just because they're beloved or familiar. You have to be willing to turn the page, even when it's painful. In the end, the Browns are at a crossroads. They're not the aging Steelers clinging to one last shot. They're not the Bengals with a clear franchise quarterback. They're not the Ravens with a stable system. Cleveland is in a murky middle, talented, but uncertain. And how they handle a moment like this one could either inch them toward contention or set them back another season. So, Browns fans, the question is simple. If Miami comes calling and the price is right, do you answer the phone? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns, more inside info, and more real talk on all things Browns, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. We're just getting started. Go Browns!